Hey everyone, welcome back. Last night we had the Republican Party's first presidential primary debate, which I did a little bit of live coverage of over on my TikTok channel, which you can check out using the link in the video description. But I decided to let things sit a little bit, and then come back the next day and talk to you all about what my big takeaways were from the debate last night. Honestly, my biggest takeaway from the evening was the fact that the entire thing was an exercise in futility. Now, yes, all of the candidates on the stage got up and reiterated well-rehearsed Republican talking points. They also squabbled with each other, called each other names, interrupted each other, overran the moderators, and generally ignored the rules of debate and the basic principles of decorum. But that's pretty standard for a Republican debate anyway. The one thing that none of the candidates did was actually make a case as to why they should be the nominee rather than former President Donald Trump. And given that he is so far ahead of every other candidate in this field, the fact that they failed to do that across the board really means that none of them are going to draw too much support away from the former president, and they're just going to exchange supporters amongst each other, which doesn't bring any of them any closer to actually being the nominee in 2024. However, that doesn't mean that there weren't any notable moments, and the first one I want to talk about came from Nikki Haley, because she was refreshingly honest with the Republicans' primary electorate in two different instances. Number one, she admitted that on the issue of abortion, there was just not the political will in the Senate to pass any kind of federal abortion ban, despite the fact that many of the other candidates on stage supported some form of federal ban. So she was like, yeah, we don't have the votes in the Senate, so this is a moot point. And it's not a good point for us, so we should probably get off this and move on to another topic. And then when it came to talking about deficit spending, she correctly pointed out that Republicans do a lot of deficit spending, especially when it comes to earmarks and so-called pork spending, which is one of Republicans' favorite things to bash Democrats about. She was actually able to cite that, yeah, Republicans actually spend a lot more when it comes to earmarks than Democrats. So, it was very nice to see the former governor of South Carolina out there being honest about the state of affairs, but that honesty quickly faded into talking about a lot of other standard Republican talking points when it comes to anti-trans issues, education, the plight of former President Donald Trump and his legal issues, etc. However, the person who spent the most time in the spotlight was Vivek Ramaswamy. He spent the entire evening feeding red meat to the most extreme wings of the Republican Party's base, as well as just generally behaving like Donald Trump did in 2016. He spoke out of turn, he interrupted other candidates, he ran over time repeatedly, and generally speaking was a nuisance to the whole debate. But the one thing he did which is probably going to work out for him is he didn't sound like a politician, and was able to make a lot of the other candidates on stage feel very much like a stereotypical politician, which is not what the Republican Party's base really wants right now. So, will he see a boost in his poll numbers? Yeah, I think he will a little bit, but I think he's hurt his chances pretty dramatically in any general election outcome, as he has so many sound bites that can be used against him just from that debate. Honestly, the rest of the candidates kind of blended into the background, and for some of them that was probably a good thing, especially for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. We know that he doesn't have a lot of really good history when it comes to debates, and given that his campaign is having a lot of issues, he probably couldn't afford to have any major missteps in this debate. So, given that his night was relatively uneventful, his campaign will probably live to see another day. But for other candidates, this was their moment to really make a splash, especially former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. We all thought that he was going to really come out swinging against former President Donald Trump, but he didn't. And he actually managed to not even take down Trump's proxy here, which was Vivek Ramaswamy. And it just really didn't seem like any of the other candidates had something substantial to say. I felt like I could have swapped them around on the debate stage, had them read each other's lines, and you really wouldn't have noticed any difference. They all seemed like very stereotypical Bush-era Republicans who were repeating some of the Make America Great Again anti-woke rhetoric that a lot of them have picked up over the last couple of years. Given how things played out, I don't really see this debate having a significant impact on how people are going to vote in the GOP primary. Donald Trump is still by far the frontrunner, and he basically came out the winner of the debate that he didn't even attend. Vivek Ramaswamy might get a few points here or there, depending on how different people viewed the very extreme rhetoric that he was putting out, and other candidates like Chris Christie and Nikki Haley may have been a little bit too anti-Trump or a little too honest about Republicans' failings, and they might lose a couple points here and there. We'll have to see how it all shakes out. And for the other candidates whose names aren't really even worth mentioning, well, they're probably going to stay exactly where they are. And it'll be interesting to see how many of them drop off when it comes to the Republican qualification standards for the next debate. Till then, we'll have to keep seeing how things develop and see if Donald Trump still remains a valid candidate going forward, as, given his processing in Georgia today, that is certainly in question. Think about it.